At the same time, Armond-Budish says Cuyahoga County is strapped for cash. He's created a new $140,000 a year position in his administration, where he says he's been very careful in staffing. That's today's subject for the Opinion Show, where we get together with the editorial board of the Plain Dealer and the Northeast Ohio Media Group for a discussion. I'm here with Opinion Director Elizabeth Sullivan and editorial writers Pete Krouse, Chris Evans, and Ted Diadiun. We're going to start with Pete, who's going to explain a little bit about why the county is in such a difficult financial condition.
Well, they're in a difficult financial situation because when they started looking more closely at the books, they realized that some of the accounting that was done during the prior administration of Ed Fitzgerald was not particularly accurate. And for instance, in the last year of the Fitzgerald administration, they had what sometimes occurs is an extra week of salary to be paid. The revenue had been set aside, but the expenditure was never accounted for. There were some other situations where sales tax was not properly was segregated and not properly accounted for, and when it all fleshed out, they were in the red for about $27 million. Now Budish says this is not an insurmountable problem. They will overcome it, but to do that, they're going to have to watch their pennies, and as Chris's editorial today would suggest, it's hard to see where they're doing that.
Well, and there were some other things. They only included 48 weeks of expenses in last year's budget and moved the extra 4 weeks into the 2015 budget to make 2014 look more solvent, and did some other shenanigans like that. But no sooner does he come in and lay this out for the editorial board, and we'll turn it over to Chris.
Yeah, then he now has hired Eliza Wing to be the chief communication officer. So it's classic Armond. It's think of it as a shell game. So he looks at this, the way he explains it, it involves math, so stay with me. He says what we've done is we've taken 3 positions and we've created 2 positions. And that's where he lost me, because really what he did was he took Mary Louise Madigan, who worked for Children and Family Services, who was earning about $71,000, brought her over when Emily Lungard, who at that time was the director of communications. When Emily left, he brought Madigan over at a salary of about, I think it was, say, 82. And then he created a new position. He got rid of Mary Louise Madigan's position in Children's and Family Services, $71,000. He created a brand new position at twice that salary for Eliza, because she is the chief communication officer. So now you have a chief communication officer and a director of communications, and you go from 2 positions when you had Emily and Mary Louise there that cost the taxpayer about $155,000. Now you have Eliza Wing and Mary Louise Madigan, and they're costing taxpayers $222,000.
That's very helpful. That's very clear.
So it's like watch the ball.
So what is the role? What is the need for this position?
When I talked to Armond, he explained it in the sense that there's a need for improved internal communication to deliver better customer service. But also there is a need for greater external communication, and that is selling the assets and resources of Cuyahoga County to, for example, the examples he cited were you've got drought-stricken California. So you go to the entrepreneurs in, I suppose, Silicon Valley and places like that, and you say, hey, we've got Lake Erie. You should move your business here. And you reach out to the artists who are living in high-priced lofts in Brooklyn and places like that in New York City, and you say, hey, we've got the Waterloo Arts District, and you can live here on,
Isn't that destination Cleveland?
And economic development.
Isn't that
well, that's a legitimate point, but Armond would argue that Eliza Wing has superpowers that these other people don't.
We should point out she used to be the executive director of cleveland.com, which
Right,
we
right,
operate
yeah.
here at Northeast Ohio Media Group.
Not that we had any real contact with her, but apparently she has amazing superpowers, and she will attract all this new business and young talent to Cuyahoga County.
So what does this tell us about how Armond-Budish operates? That's my concern about this whole sequence of events. So we have these dire scenarios, and we had a sort of semi-dire scenario presented to us when he first took office, which seemed to be aimed at depressing any expectations that he would step forward to help the Cavs with their building plans. Now we have a really, truly disastrous situation that he presented more recently, $27 million in the hole. That does seem to
Possibly
be
worse.
Possibly worse. His budget guy hadn't finished going through the books, as he told us. Possibly worse, but is that aimed really just at depressing, making sure that the Cavs don't ask for more money and depressing expectations from Akron-Boutros that the county is prepared to help with their expansion project?
You have the Cavs that want a significant amount of money to work on the arena. We need work at Metro Health. That hospital, by all accounts, nobody disputes this, is at the end of its life and needs to be replaced. The Justice Center, which was always a bit of a weak building, is also at the end of its natural life. All of these cost huge amounts of money, but if you say, we're poor, we got no money, then people can't really hit you and say, come on.
But it also occurred to me that he was doing this in order to set the bar very low for the beginning of his administration so he could claim. Now, when he came in with Dave Greenspan from County Council, I did get the impression Greenspan was delighted that there was much more communication with the executive than there had been under Ed Fitzgerald. But the key point here that Chris didn't mention with this hiring, this little finagling of Eliza Wing, is that council wasn't consulted, nor will they be.
And he didn't know, right?
No, he didn't know about it. I talked to Dan Brady, who's the council president, and he said Eliza Wing's appointment was announced last Friday. He had a conversation with Budish, Brady said, on Thursday, and apparently they have a laundry list. He said 25 items were discussed, and the Wing hire was mentioned as part of that. But no, Dave Greenspan, council was not informed at all, and they will not, since she is in the executive office, they will not confirm her. They will have to confirm Mary Louise Madigan because she's...
But you know what's even a bigger problem than this budget shortfall is the fact that the county also has used up all its borrowing capacity for I think like 10, 15 years. I mean, you can fund certain things out of a capital budget or an operating budget, but if you're going to do things like the Justice Center, assist Metro Health, do whatever, you're going to have to float bonds and things like that. And I don't think there's any more room for that for a long, long time. And that's even more crippling.
Without a tax increase
I would
to pay for it.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
sure.
I
without
have
it, yeah.
to interject, though, that this was an issue that Dave Greenspan raised during his campaign. And I looked at the most recent bond rating reports from the two top bond raters. Basically, we're giving Cuyahoga County as high marks as they give any county in the nation, despite its debt, which hasn't increased since then, because of its healthy revenues. So again, I do think this is something where we have to, maybe we need to confirm the Armond-Budish, disaster scenario, because this one thing he's saying is we can't really incur new debt, though we will meet, our obligation with the pedestrian bridge.
Yeah, I mean, for example, he said he has separated out the sales tax money that was created to build the convention center and now the convention center hotel. He's taken that out of the budget so that everybody knows it's there before it was mixed in. The issue with that, though, is if the sales tax revenue increases, it'll be off budget, and maybe there's more as the economy improves, if people are spending more, and certainly now that Amazon is paying its share of the sales tax. There could be a nice boost there, but by segregating it, you can continue to say, yeah, we just don't have the money.
But it's smart to segregate it, and it's smart to, there is a relatively healthy reserve. I don't know what it is, 50 million, 100 million. Without that, things would be, we'd be
Well,
much
he
more difficult.
claimed when he met with us that that reserve was no longer healthy, that it was anemic.
I was just going to interject that back to the hiring practices that we started this with, that you know, I realized that you have to spend money to get good people, and this isn't, I don't know anything about Eliza's qualifications, but if you have a budget shortfall and you're fighting money, the only way to fix that, and as far as personnel, is to cut staff and lower salaries, and it sounds like he's done neither of these. In fact, he's increased them, and you know, no matter how he moves the walnuts around. I was struck by Karen Farkas's story today, talking about money that is not coming in. It's kind of appalling that the Greater Cleveland auto dealers have to go outside the county in order to get titles done efficiently, and that's costing the county $800,000 there. Might be a drop in the large budget bucket, but you know, gee whiz, that's a lot of money that is just sheer incompetency.
Though to be fair, Armond was the one who flagged that, and he mentioned it to us when he met with us, and that this was something, this is some of his ideas for generating new revenue, and this was in there. And we've also, I mean, done some stories about the overall budget numbers, and this is prior to the Eliza Wing maneuver, found that his claims were meritorious, that he wasn't adding to payroll costs with these
well, yeah, but
hires.
he needs to decrease it. It's not just a matter of don't add to it, he needs to decrease it, and if, you know, I haven't heard anything in any of this that's going to fix that, you know, that inefficiency in the title bureaus.
But part of it is a bit of a clumsiness in the way the news comes out. You come in, you announce we're really tight and we don't have any money, and then quietly you learn that he's created a $140,000 a year position.
Right, and the other thing to remember is he still does not have his complete cabinet together. So there's still openings.
Do you know what Matt Carroll's doing yet?
We don't know what Matt Carroll's, I mean, he's...
Former chief of staff for Ed
He was the former chief of staff, Ed Fitzgerald, absolutely qualified. And he's an interim something, but he hasn't been actually, as far as I know, you know, given a position. But, you know, he's earning beaucoup bucks too. Budish would argue that part of his strategy in taking over as executive was meeting early on with corporate and business leaders, because that's what he wanted to bring. He wanted to create a culture that was more reflective of a corporate culture, in the sense that it'd be more streamlined, more efficient. But I mean, really, what we're seeing at this point is that he's just creating a corporate culture in terms of six-figure salaries.
Okay, that's where we'll leave it. If you have some thoughts on the way Armond-Budish is spending tax money, please leave them in the comments where you find this show. We'll see you next time.